ValveTime.net.
Hi, and welcome to the ValveTime News. Each week we'll bring you the biggest talking points regarding Valve and the community. James isn't available to record this episode, so I'll be filling in for him. Now the news. A few weeks ago we came across some interesting new information within some render code introduced into the Source Filmmaker back in January. Earlier this week, after checking into the information some more, we decided to reveal our findings. Hidden within the SFM render farm code, we were able to locate and identify a trio of new scripting fragments which relate directly to Half-Life 3 using the acronym HL3. The code was added back in mid-January 2014 and currently appears as placeholder tool text written in the Python programming language. It would appear that the text does not actually relate to Half-Life 3 in any specific manner and is primarily designed to provide examples of possible file locations used internally at Valve while trying to use the company's render farms. Unfortunately, the public release of Source Filmmaker currently doesn't support render farms, so the code does not actually function at all outside of Valve. Now, we feel the need to stress that the code itself does not actually relate to anything contained within Half-Life 3 itself, despite how easy it is to get overly hyped or excited about this kind of news. The provided code merely functions as a series of examples, unlike previously found code related to both Source 2 and the now cancelled Episode 3, both of which would have actually functioned given the right circumstances and assets. While the code fragments do reference a dogfight, it is likely this is simply a callback to Half-Life 2 Episode 2. What is interesting, however, is the fact that Valve is now officially referring to the project internally as part of their software development, in this case the Source Filmmaker. We just can't tell whether or not any trailers or cutscenes created within the SFM will actually make it into the final game. Now, it's worth noting that Facepunch user Pononage also brought attention to these lines of code, but was not our source, as we had been sitting on the code fragments from a private source for a while before deciding that we should publish them to ensure they were framed in the proper context, i.e. that they confirm nothing about Half-Life 3. Still, Pononage did beat us to publishing it and also has a pretty fantastic avatar. Anyway, if you're looking to check out the code for yourself, be sure to head on over to our full write-up on ValveTime.net, a link to which is provided in the video description alongside links relevant to everything else we're discussing this week. Late in the week, Valve released via an email press release that the company would be attending the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco between March 17th and 21st, 2014. A booth at the convention will allow visitors to try out the latest prototype of the Steam controller, which was shown off within the press release after originally being briefly previewed back at the Steam Dev Days conference back in January. The new prototype, which we've previously featured here on the show, no longer features a central touchpad, which has instead been replaced with a standard ABXY button layout and a 4-way D-pad, which should help provide support for games with more traditional control setups. For those of you attending GDC who may be looking to try out one of the 10 available prototypes, you'll be able to find Valve's rather large booth at Suite 2002 in the South Hall, which is quite close to the entrance as shown by this map. It would definitely be nice to get our hands on one as a way of finding out how the device is continually progressing. Wink wink, Valve. While it's safe to say everyone is more interested in the continuing development of the Steam controller, let's not forget about the current lineup of Steam machines. Earlier this week, Stuff TV got their hands on 12 of the upcoming Steam machines to take a closer look at the boxes and the components contained within them. Their 14-page exclusive feature includes high-resolution photographs of each machine and even interactive 360-degree animations, both of which should help you to get a better idea of how the devices look and function if you've been looking to learn more. The Steam store page for the upcoming Dota 2 free-to-play documentary was introduced earlier this week as the release of the film moves closer every day. The page, as with many Steam store pages, provides photographic previews of the documentary and has revealed several new details regarding the film, including the fact that free-to-play will apparently feature Steam achievements and Steam trading cards. While the film is only available in English, it will feature full subtitle support for 25 different languages, including German, Swedish, Greek, Ukrainian, and many others. If you don't want to wait a second longer than you have to, you may want to head on over to the store page to preload the film now in order to begin viewing it as soon as possible when the documentary is publicly released later this week on March 19th. The film is around 5 gigabytes in size, so those of you with a slow internet connection may want to begin the download sooner rather than later to avoid missing the release date. The Steam Store page also features a reminder regarding the free-to-play pack set to release in Dota 2, which we're happy to confirm was added to the game files earlier this week before being found by community data miners such as Cyborg Matt. Prior to a period of extensive downtime on Thursday, the Steam Store received a new update which has introduced the ability for users to report listed products for a whole number of potentially problematic reasons. As shown by this image, the reasons include legal violations, potentially offensive content, adult content, child exploitation, hate speech, fraudulent activity, and of course, pornography, which is apparently different than adult content. Should enough users report a game for one or more of these reasons, we imagine Valve will investigate the product themselves before potentially warning or punishing the content owners for a violation of the Steam terms and conditions. The new report flag option can be found close to the top of a Steam Store product page beside the wishlist button. Early in the week, Valve's GitHub page was updated to include the direct 3D to OpenGL abstraction layer used within Dota 2's source code. Basically, the abstraction layer acts as a piece of code which allows Valve to take standard DirectX games running on Windows and easily port them to OS X or Linux and SteamOS. The code fragment, known as ToGL, should allow game developers both big and small to more easily port their games from Windows by automatically converting data usually handled by Direct3D APIs into the OpenGL equivalent at the price of a small, relatively unnoticeable knock to performance. Since the source engine is still limited to DirectX 9C, 2GL likely isn't going to be all that useful when attempting to port modern game engines running DirectX 10, DirectX 11, or the recently revealed DirectX 12. Now, we understand that all of this technical mumbo-jumbo probably isn't all that exciting for most of you, so let's pose a simple question. What does this mean for me in the games I play? Well, this abstraction layer should make it far easier for developers to port their games to the OS X and Linux operating systems, in theory helping even more games to be introduced to the platforms. It should be interesting to see what kind of approach to APIs in Direct3D Valve will take with Source 2. And that brings us to the end of another week of Valve news. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and to get involved by signing up to the ValveTime.net community forums. Oh, and be sure to share this video and to give our Dota 2 announcer pack a thumbs up on the Steam community. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.